Rorik steps inside the nameless chapel once more. Unlike previous expeditions, he is not nearly as battered. Ingolfer sits upon his chair at his desk. A wide-toothy grin adorns his face.
I see you've survived another journey into the breach.
He holds out his hand. Rorik places one of the calling stones in his hands as he glances to the side. A pot of stew is boiling on the fire. His nose recognizes the scent. It's the same stew he's been eating these past few days. Hopefully, it's not the same.
Your quest is nearly at its conclusion.
Ingolfer begins.
And these calling stones will allow you to teleport back here to the surface. Eat up and gather your strength, for this may be your hardest journey yet.
Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42. Come on in and take a seat. This is the Table for One, a solo actual play podcast where I play through solo tabletop RPGs by myself. And this is the Dragonbane playthrough, alone in Deepfall Breach. This is episode 4. Rorik has just come back to Ingolfer with the stone in hand. This is going to be the calling stone where he is able to basically teleport wherever the other stone is. And he's going to be leaving that with Ingolfer for obvious reasons. I mean, being able to instantly teleport back to the surface at any given time is just pretty much a blessing at this point, especially with all the dangers that are in the Deepfall Breach. And so, the text for the calling stone says this. These two stones are inexorably linked. Ingolfer asks to keep one in the nameless chapel, while the other remains in our possession. When you speak the activation word, your stone instantly returns you to the chapel. After teleporting, roll a d6. On a 1, the calling stone cracks and its power falters. It will only function one more time before crumbling to dust. And so we have a rather powerful item in our possession, so let's hope that we don't really have to make use of it all too often. But I got a feeling that we are going to have to use it eventually. Let's just hope that we don't roll a 1 when we get to that point. So let's go ahead and see where we're going next. And it looks like we're going to the Soul Tree.
The rains are unrelenting, and we are awash. Follow ye the floodwaters' path into the breach, to the very boundary of life and death. There grows the Soul Tree. We've need of its enchanted sap. Tortured spirits follow the same path into the underworld. I sense one familiar to you. Whether it seeks absolution or revenge, I can't say.
So I really do like this threat that is upon us. So there's some sort of a tortured spirit that's going to be trying to find us down in the breach this time. And if we actually roll the threat all the way down, it's going to appear as a ghost. But what exactly is this tortured spirit, you might be asking? Well, I kind of gave it some thought, and I think this one is going to be from, well, it has to be from Rorik's past. And since Rorik is a fighter, it only makes sense that this could be somebody that is tied to his profession. This could be like a marshal or maybe a captain or commander of some sorts that kind of rubbed Rorik the wrong way, and we might have actually led to his death. Now there is going to be some sort of resentment. Of course, do we need all of the backstory? Not quite, not yet. But if it should come into play, then there are some tables that we can possibly roll on. Of note, I did not roll for this one, so I didn't really find it appropriate to roll on the inspiration table because there really isn't a thing that applies or an attribute or an action. So this is something that I've kind of come up with on my own, and we're just going to go ahead and roll with it. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and set our D6 to the number 6, and let's head to the streaming stairs.
Mind the perils of this spiraling stairway. Muddy runoff rushes down the slick stone in a torrent.
So the first thing that comes to mind when I've read the streaming stairs is we're just basically going down the stairs as carefully as we can. But of course, it's very muddy, and this it seems like the theme of this entire area is just going to be flood and water. So perhaps that it's so slick and wet that Rorik is going to have to carefully maneuver his way down the stairs, lest he slips like Lara Croft in Shadow of the Tomb Raider or something like that. And so I think that the most appropriate role for this one is going to be some sort of an agility role, most likely acrobatics, I think would make the most sense here, especially since there isn't really an athletics check. That would just be a straight up strength check in my opinion. And so let's gather some dice and see if we can actually maneuver our way down these slick stairs. So let's see, our acrobatics is at a 7. We do have, or actually we do not have a Bane on acrobatics. Let it be known, we do not have a Bane because we are wearing chainmail and there's no Bane on acrobatics rolls. Only for sneaking and evading, and I think swimming checks, even though it doesn't say swimming on the character sheet. So let's take our D20, our first roll of the session. How is this session really going to go? Let's find out. Of course, the very first roll, a freaking demon. Alright, the demon's laughing at us now, so that is a natural 20, so there is a Bane. Let's see what happens, because there's actually a dragon and demon effect. So on page 3 of Alone in Deepfall Breach, there is actually a dragon and demon effects, and I haven't actually really used it, mainly because I haven't really thought it would be applicable to those situations, especially when it's in combat. But in this instance, when we're supposed to be maneuvering down some slick stairs, actually I think this would come into play. And so we're going to roll a d6. Now, let me know, there is a separate table for dragon effects and for demon effects. So, what is going to happen? Let's roll and find out. That is a 2. You suffer a dangerous delay. Okay, so that means that our threat meter is going down. Not once, but I think twice. So from a 6 to a 4. And what really happens is Rorik loses his footing, he slips and he slides down the stairs. All the mud, it's just so slick, and he's just sliding this way and that. Of course, it is a spiral staircase, so he's just going around and around and around. And I think he's just gonna fall off the side of the stairs, probably down a cliff or something like that. And maybe he just falls a little bit too far from where he's supposed to be, and he's going to fall in some more mud. And that is going to take a heck of a lot of time to come out and just climb back up to where he is supposed to be. And so that is why our threat tracker went down by 2. We've wasted actually quite a bit of time. That's like a third of our time wasted on this very first room, I guess. It's not really a room, but I mean, it's an area. In this very first area, we've already wasted too much time. So he manages to climb back where he's supposed to be. He's just all muddy and dirty, but there's no time to waste. Not anymore. He needs to push forward. And for that, he is going into the flooding chamber.
The water here waits for no one. Your only escape is through a trap door operated by hidden mechanisms. Be wary of what lies below.
So I imagine that he's made it inside whatever we're going. Let's say that he's going inside of a cave system, because I imagine that most of Deepfall Breach is going to be just a system of caverns that are connected through tunnels and things like that. So he's managed to find the entrance to this cave, this area where this soul tree is supposed to be, I suppose. And he starts to go inside, and there he's going to find the first proper room of this whole entire dungeon area. And the door closes behind, just like how Link does in those 3D games. And then the chamber begins to flood. Water just splashes down from the walls, and it's not too long before the water's at his ankles, and then at his knees, and then at his thighs. And so what we need to do, we need to go ahead and roll spot hidden, because there is some sort of a hidden mechanism in this room somewhere, and we need to find that as quickly as possible. So our spot hidden is at 12. I'm not rolling this one. That's the demon dice. Actually, I do have another d20. Okay, so we're not rolling the demon dice anymore. He's going in timeout. So what do we get? That is, wow, that's not much better. That's a 19 on the die. Oh my gosh. So already we're not off to a good start. A demon on the first roll, one less on the next roll. What's gonna happen? Obviously, the room is going to flood. What would be an appropriate consequence for this one? Now, if I was smart, I would have obviously said that there's going to be some sort of a countdown, maybe like a D4 countdown or something like that, and we have this many tries to get it, but that's also kind of cheating in a way, isn't it? Because that's basically giving us like advantage, like 4 advantages right there to try to find where this hidden mechanism is. So what kind of a consequence can there be? Let's imagine that Engulfer's gaze is able to see inside of the chamber and kind of help Rorik find this mechanism. Let's say that that's a thing that can actually happen. So going off of that, Rorik has some sort of an idea as to where this hidden mechanism is supposed to be. And so as the water comes up to his neck, he's going to have to dive down into the rising waters to get to this mechanism. Now, in the rules for swimming and drowning, we already know that we get a bane on swimming checks because we're wearing chainmail armor. But in addition to that, we're going to have to roll con each round to hold our breath, which is not an action. If the roll fails, you begin drowning, which means taking d6 damage per round until someone rescues you. If you reach 0 HP while drowning, you make death rolls as usual, but only failed rolls count. So, what I think we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and roll that swimming check, okay, and see if we're going to take damage. If we do not, if we actually succeed, then we find the mechanism without taking damage, and we're going to be able to escape. So we have that going for us at least. But since we are wearing chainmail, our swimming roll is at a disadvantage. So let's see what we get. It's a dragon and a 19. Okay, that's kind of rather unfortunate because that dragon would have been really sweet to have. Now, something that we could do, we could push the roll. So we'll take a condition, but we'll have to re-roll both of the dice. I don't really like that very much, but then again, our swimming is at 10, so we do have that going for us. I think we need to try though, because I don't really like the idea of taking damage right off the bat. So he's gonna go ahead and push the roll. He's gonna try to stay underwater just a little bit longer. Resist the drowning, Rorik. What do we get? 14 and a 15, so no, we are unfortunately going to be taking some damage, but as we've stated before, we are going to be moving forward. So we're going to be wasting some time here. I think that's appropriate, but we're also going to take some drowning damage. Is that what you would say, drowning damage? I'm not entirely sure. We're gonna roll a d6 and see how much damage we're actually taking here. So how much damage do we suffer? We suffer 2. Oh, at least that's a low roll, I guess, so have that. Now, we do need to take a condition, and I think the most appropriate condition is that he's going to be really angry. I mean, he's a really angry kind of a guy, I would imagine, so for some reason, I feel like getting angry because he's not able to find out where this damn mechanism is in time is just an appropriate thing to have here. I feel like a lot of these could work. Scared, not so much. Sickly, I was contemplating, but then again, I would save that for something that's actually, you know, something that deals poison or something like that. I'm not really entirely sure, so we're going to go with angry for now. So that means we're going to have a bane or disadvantage on all intelligence-based rolls. Not that we're saying that Rorik is a very intelligent person, because let's be honest, he is not. So let's move on. He manages to find the mechanism, which could be like a stop drain kind of a deal, and the door on the other side opens and the water just rushes out, and I would suppose that he would rush out with it. So where are we going to go next? Well, it's unknown, so we do need to roll for that. Here we are, my good friend, the exploration tables. I really actually do enjoy rolling on these. And the very first thing that we need to do is roll a d20 to see which area we're rolling for. And that is a 5. That is a confounding maze. Ooh, interesting. So we're going into a maze. So let's roll a d4 and see how many times we're going to roll on the location details. And that is going to be a 4 right there. So we're rolling 4 times. Wow, I really hope that we don't get like 4 dangers in a row. That would be really messed up. All right, the first one is 3, which is an oddity. The next one is 2, which is environment. So we have oddity, environment. We have a 1, which is content. Oddity, environment, contents. There's only one number left. I hope it's not a 4. It's a 1. Okay, so oddity, environment, contents. That is what we are rolling for here. So let's go right down the list. Oddities, then environments, then both of the contents. So our oddity is a 19. That is unnatural darkness. We've actually had this before, I believe in the first or second episode. So nice to see the unnatural darkness returning once again. Our next roll is going to be for the environment. That is a 13. So 13 is mechanical whirring. Okay, very interesting. And last we have the 2 contents. So I'm gonna roll both d20s at once. 18 and 14. So 18 is toppled pillars and 14 is ornate sarcophagi.
Through the darkness I see a maze, once a mechanical marvel with ever-shifting walls, but now decimated by the pillars that once held it high. Seek out the ornate sarcophagi in its center, for surely you'll have a need for what's inside.
I'm kind of imagining that this whole area isn't so much of a maze as you would think that the Minotaur is down there, kind of a maze, or Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire type of a hedge maze. It's just that there's these pillars that have toppled over and they're placed in such a way that it's kind of like a maze going in between them and things like that. And so there is an ornate sarcophagi somewhere in there, and I think it only makes sense that we should have to try to find where it is. Now, I think that the spot hidden roll is probably the most applicable for this situation, to see if he can actually come by the ornate sarcophagi. That is an intelligence check though. But our spot hidden is also 12. It's one of our higher intelligence checks. Actually, it's probably the highest intelligence check that we have. In fact, it's almost the highest skill we have, period. That's really interesting. I'm pretty sure we've leveled that up a couple times. So we're going to take our 2d20s and we're rolling with a Bane. We have to get under a 12 on both of those. 16 and Demon. Of course. I think it's time to switch out these Dragonbane dice, because I'm obviously getting lots of Banes and not dragons on these. Let's find out what happens on the demon table. Okay, this one is going to be a d6 roll again for the demon effect, and we have a 3. You draw unwanted attention, of course. So what are we going to find here? Obviously, we don't find the ornate sarcophagi, so I think that we're going to find perhaps maybe what was lurking inside of the ornate sarcophagi. That would entail an undead. So for this one, I'm actually gonna do something a little bit different. We could just go with your basic skeleton, because that obviously makes sense, but I'm actually gonna opt to use the brand new Dragonbane bestiary, because it has the living dead there. And that is exactly what we're going to use, just for something different, some variety, for goodness sake. And so we do have the living dead here, and we attract his attention, and he is going to come shambling at us. Now, The Living Dead is a ferocity 1, so he only gets to draw 1 initiative card, but he's got 9 HP, no armor, a movement of 6, but that doesn't really matter because we're going to get up there and close with him. He has resistance towards piercing weapons. That means he's only going to take half damage from piercing weapons. And he's got a venerable neck, which will only happen if we roll a dragon. We basically just sever its head and it drops to the ground dead. And he's also got an undead disease. So if we die with this Virulence 12 disease, we come back as a undead, which would suck. This is considered a monster, so it has its own monster attack table. So whenever he's attacking, we'll roll a d6 for that. So if you're brand new to Dragonbane, a lot of the monsters in this book or this series have these tables that you roll for, which makes solo playing absolutely amazing. I believe this idea was kind of started in the Alien RPG. I don't know, quote me on that one. But that's where I first encountered it, and I've loved that system ever since because you can do all sorts of cool things with that. And it's very applicable for solo play, so I definitely agree with that. So we have the Living Dead here. So 9 HP. We gotta draw some initiative, guys. We gotta draw some initiative cards. And so, as I always do, I will roll for Rorik, and he gets to draw 2 initiative cards, 1 for his heroic ability, and so, and then 1 just for normal. And so the Living Dead will draw after Rorik. That's kind of how I do things. I do give Rorik that little bit of an edge for that. Obviously, because it's solo play, we do have to give him something. We can't just have him do nothing. So here we go. Rorik's first one is a 3. His second one is an 8. And the Living Dead has a 10. So the Living Dead is going dead last. Which is very, very nice, by the way, because that means Rorik gets to attack twice. And we like it when Rorik attacks twice. So let's go ahead and make our first attack and see how much damage we're going to do. So we do have a broadsword. It has piercing damage, but it also has slashing damage, which is excellent for him because that is exactly what we're going to want to do. We want to slash this guy. Now our swords is at 13, so that is our highest skill. Let's go ahead and attack. We rolled a 3. Awesome, because we are definitely doing some damage, and I believe that is 2d6 plus a d4. So that's 2d6 plus a d4 worth of damage, and let us see how much damage we're gonna do. Hopefully it's more than 9 because that would be pretty sweet. That is more than 9 because we have 8 with our d6s and that 4 with that d4 makes it 12. So there we go. We successfully have slashed that Living Dead, but not in the head. He's still got his head. We didn't get a dragon, so we don't get to decapitate the Living Dead. So we slash at the Living Dead, and it just crumples down to the ground. So that is our first victory. Thumbs up for Rorik, and let us move on. Now, we did unfortunately fail on a roll for spot hidden, which means we do waste a stretch of time. And so we're down to 2 on our threat meter. And that's not good, my friends. That is definitely not good. Not saying that I'm disappointed that the Living Dead did not get to use this sweet monster attack table, but I am kind of disappointed that we just kind of talked about this new book and didn't really make use of it. But hey, we have a whole nother playthrough coming up for Dragonbane after Alone in Deepfall Breach, and I will be using quite a bit from the bestiary. So if you're disappointed as much as I am that we didn't really do much there, well, we still got more game to go through. So what is next? Well, it's actually another unknown. There's 2 unknowns in a row this time around, so very interesting on that one. So let us go ahead to my favorite table, the encounter table, and we're going to go ahead and roll that d20. What area are we in? That's 12. That is a lofty bridge. We've had a lofty bridge before, I think. And I think the question that I always ask is it made of stone? And yeah, so we have ourselves a lofty bridge coming up. How many times are we going to roll our d4 though? We're going to roll it once. Hey, I can do that as long as it's not a danger. And so what do we get? We have a 1, which is contents. Okay, I can dig that. Rorik has managed to make it out of this elaborate maze of toppled over pillars and debris and whatnot, and he's come to a lofty bridge. And it is, well, let's find out. What are the contents of this lofty bridge? So our D20 for the lofty bridge is a 12, another 12, which is moldering tapestries. Okay, that's very interesting.
Another lofty bridge will take you from one maze to another. Now would be a good moment to catch your breath before delving deeper.
The only thing that I can think of is that perhaps over the side of this bridge are just these large, extravagant tapestries, but so much time has passed that they are just decrepit, moldy, moldering, I guess. They're just torn apart, but they're still hanging in there. And over time, they would have told a story that was so great about whomever or about whatever quest that this person went on. But you can't make out what it is anymore because there's hardly anything there. You can't really make out much. So that begs the question, what kind of a bridge are we going to go across? Now, there's really only three options that I can foresee. Stone bridge would be the best option, followed by wooden bridge, followed by rope bridge, I guess. So we have three different types of bridges here. So we'll go with 6 and 5 for stone bridge, 4 and 3 for the wooden bridge, and then 1 and 2 for the rope bridge. So what kind of a bridge are we going across? We are going across a damn good stone bridge, as I like. So we're going across a stone bridge with the tapestries hanging off the side. Let's see, there's no danger here, I don't imagine. We could search, and there's a really good search table. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time, and I don't think Rorik is going to want to spend this time searching around for things that might just pop out and attack him, or, God forbid, nothing. Actually, there is nothing on the search table. There's no nothing on the search table. How about that? You have concealed foe, a trap, secret path, hidden antechamber, a hidden treasure, and then a hidden vault. So that's actually really interesting. That there's not a nothing on that search table. Okay. I mean, that's the way the game is played, I guess. So, we are just going to have Rorik go across the stone bridge. The pretty good stone bridge, though, he will make note of. With the moldering tapestries over the side, he kind of wishes that he could see more of this story that's on the tapestries, but he can't really make it out because a lot of it is torn or withered away. Because Rorik, something that we should actually make note of right now, Rorik actually likes a good story. He kind of grew up listening to stories from his father. Well, we'll just kind of leave it at that for now. But he does, when he was a boy, he did like to sit down on his dad's lap and listen to a good story. And so one of the things that he liked to do when he was a fighter or part of the military or whatnot was to go to taverns and listen to whatever bard happened to set up there and spinning a tale of wondrous quests and foes to be fought and things like that. He rather enjoyed that. He didn't really partake in any of the gambling or anything like that as the other soldiers did, but he did pay a coin to the bard for a good story. And so we'll leave it at that because that's delving into his past right there, and we can do that another time when it is actually a little bit more applicable. So he is going across the stone lofty bridge, and he's going into the next area, which is the Maze of Lost Souls.
Rivulets of floodwater course through this labyrinth. I see a minotaur of great strength and stubborn pride, lost and enraged, searching for something eluding him. Living skeletons dwell here too, wayward souls refused passage by the ferryman and doomed to wander the maze.
So Rorik goes across the stone bridge, and he's making his way down a path, a rather slick path. It's just slick rock from whatever floodwaters have come in, and he makes it to the entrance of a maze. Now, this is actually the second maze that we've come across in this session, and it is a right and proper maze. This one has a damn minotaur and some skeletons. Let's hope we don't find either of them, but if we had to encounter one, I would really hope it's the skeletons, because a minotaur is that is a very ferocious enemy, and I don't think that is going to be a solo applicable encounter. The minotaur is wandering around. The skeletons, I imagine, are just kind of shambling about, so it looks like we need to kind of sneak past them. Now, we are wearing chainmail. That means we have a bane on sneaking, but I think that's kind of what we've got to do. He's going to have to try to sneak around. And so, we have 2d20s. We're going to roll them for sneak, and let's see how Rorik does sneaking around. I'm not excited. Are you excited? That's a 4 and a 5. So, Rorik is carefully sneaking around this maze. He hears shambling all around, but more importantly, he hears the snorts of the Minotaur. He's carefully picking his way through. He sees 2 different paths. Which path does he take? The path to the left or the path on the right? He listens carefully. The shambling's coming from the left, so he takes the right path, and he continues down further, but he's very careful. He looks at his feet. He makes sure that he's not stumbling on anything that's in the way. No rock to kick, no twig to snap, no body to thump. He is very meticulous. He is very careful in this instance. He does not encounter a single skeleton. He does not encounter the Minotaur, but he also does not waste time. Actually, let's see. Does he waste time? I guess we should roll a bushcraft. If he passes this bushcraft, he does not waste time. If he doesn't pass the bushcraft, that means we are going to waste 1 threat. I think that would kind of make sense because he's sneaking around, yes, but he also has to manage his way around. Now, we are still angry, so that means a bane on intelligence rolls. I don't know if we're gonna get lucky twice, guys, but at least our bushcraft, well, actually, it's pretty low. It's at 6. So let's see. 4 and a 10. That was so close, but not quite. So we are going to waste 1 threat sneaking around. But eventually, he does find an exit, but he does not encounter anything. And that is the most important part, mind you, because there's probably plenty of other things to fight down here. Let's find out. We're heading to the Wailing Shore next.
Floodwater gathers and forms a river, emptying into a mist-covered lake within a boundless cavern. The ferryman, a being of many names, will guide ye onward for a price.
Alright, this one's a really interesting one because this isn't the foe that we're facing here, but it's also not an ally. This is somebody or something. I imagine that this is, kind of like a Charon figure, a hooded figure that's, on the ferry waiting to take weary travelers down the shore or whatnot. We don't know what price he's going to ask, and there really is no way of figuring that out, which is kind of something if there was a critique of this adventure specifically, is that some of these places should have options, or it would be better if they had like suggested options for things like this, like roll a d6 and this is what he asks type of a deal, because none of the tables in this pamphlet or booklet, I guess, doesn't really cover it. Like, I don't think anything on the inspiration table would really do. It's not an action, it's not an attribute. There are things here, but these aren't things that he would ask for, I would imagine. And the fortune chart really does nothing in this instance. Now, I could go ahead and use the fortune chart to ask yes/no questions and go about it that way, but I also would think that would be tedious and it's not really as fun as, say, rolling on a chart. So, to come up with a solution, I've gone to my good buddy, Mr. ChatGPT. And I've already asked him to give me 6 options for what the ferryman is going to ask. And so we have ourselves a d6 table right here, so we're going to roll a d6. But here are some of the options, because I think these are really interesting, what ChatGPT has come up with. A cherished memory, a secret kept hidden, a piece of your past, a promise of your future, a silver coin from a distant land, or a lock of our hair. Okay, this is rather interesting. We're going to roll a d6 and see what we come up with. That is a 1, which is a cherished memory. Ooh, they are just... We're going all backstory on Rorik today, I suppose. All right, here's one for you. And this is going to be something that we had planned for in not Alone in Deepfall Breach, but in the actual play for this game. So the cherished memory that Rorik is going to give, I was about to say Charon, but it's not Charon. I mean, we could call him Charon, but I don't imagine that this is tied to Greek mythology in any way. That we're going to give the ferryman is from his childhood, specifically of a time when he was with his younger sister. This was just a simple, innocent memory where the two were out in the fields playing or whatnot. This was better times. The air was warm and the scent was very sweet in the flowering fields from where he was. And this is actually one of the last memories that he has of his sister. It was a very good memory before things kind of went to hell and he ended up losing her. Not in any way that you're probably thinking, but we already have a detailed backstory for her, which we'll get into later. Not this episode, mind you. Unless we roll another backstory thing, and we still have one more place, so that's certainly possible, but I highly doubt it. But we'll get to that in the actual playthrough. But this is one of the last cherished memories that he has of his sister before, well, let's just give it away. She was taken away. So there we go. The ferryman accepts this memory, and it isn't before long that, well, actually, here, let's ask a yes-no question. Does Rorik forget this memory? Is that something that happens because he's given this memory? Does he forget this memory? No. In fact, this memory is going to stick with him, and it's going to be a very powerful thing for him that he could grasp on in times of need. And so that memory was probably fading from the back of his mind, but it was brought to light by the ferryman asking him to give up this cherished memory. And so he has recounted this memory to the ferryman, and he is allowed to keep it, and it is stronger than ever. It actually brings to mind his sister, let's just say, which is actually something that kind of I can work with going forward. And so the ferryman slowly rocks the boat forward, or gently drives the boat. I don't know, what would you call a ferryman taking the boat off to shore? The ferryman goes off of the shore, let's just say, and starts to travel along it. So where are we going next? We're going to the Archeron Isles.
Upon this lone isle stands mounds of bones and a lone, luminous tree. Gather blood-red sap from the heart of that tree, then use the calling stone to return to the chapel. Beware the Raven Sisters, 2 undead harpies with mouldering wings and corrupted hearts. They abide no living trespasser on their isle.
So the ferryman takes Rorik closer to this lone isle in the middle of this sea, and the tree that's upon this isle, it gets closer and closer, and he can begin to see the red outline, I suppose, of the tree's bark, the little indents inside, the wrinkles, whatnot. And this is his destination. And as soon as he steps onto the shore, the ferryman turns and leaves him there, stranded. But of course, not really, because we have the calling stones, which we're supposed to use here. But there's also something else. The Raven Sisters are here. 2 harpies. 2 undead harpies that are lurking about. And as soon as the ferryman leaves, Rorik is going to hear a screech. And all of a sudden he sees these harpies take flight, and they start to, well, start to fly around him. So I suppose this is the time to roll for initiative. Now these harpies are actually really bad news because they act as a swarm. They're part of a flock, which means they attack together, so they're going to get 2 ferocity. But they also only attack from the air. So if Rorik wants to hit them, he has to have some sort of a ranged weapon. And ranged weapon he does not have. He's got a small shield and a broadsword. So going toe-to-toe with these harpies is pretty much out of the question. In fact, he is going to be focused on one goal and one goal only, and that is to collect the sap and get out of there. And so we're going to hope that he can roll or draw some low numbers here. So Rorik's first initiative card is a 2. Awesome. His second one is an 8. Again? Okay. Alrighty. For the harpies, since they're 1 apiece, they get to draw 2. A 1. Oh, they get to go first. And 4. The harpy gets to go first, then Rorik, and then the harpy, and then Rorik. So a true proper initiative round here. The harpies are considered monsters, which means they do get to make a roll on their appropriate monster attack table. So it's a d6 roll. Since I already indicated that they are swarming above, they are in the prime position to attack. And so I think Rorik would have to spend a turn maneuvering over to the tree in order to collect the sap. And I guess the action would be to get sap and then another action to use the calling stone. Let's see what we can do. He's got his broadsword and his small shield, and see how the harpies are going to react. That's a 4. That is an eye gouge. Oof! The creatures target an unfortunate player character and try to tear the victim's eyes out with their sharp claws. The attack inflicts 2d6 piercing damage, and the victim is blinded and acts as if in total darkness for 1 stretch. Okay, so the harpies manage to calm down upon Rorik, and they scratch at his eyes, and blood drips down into his eyes, which blinds him momentarily, or actually for a stretch. That's like 15 minutes, right? So definitely this entire combat is going to be done blind, which is not a good thing for him. And so he is blind in this moment. He takes 2d6 damage. Okay, so let's see how much damage is he going to take. Remember, we are wearing armor, so that is armor of 4. Yeah, so that 7 becomes a 3. Yeah, that's not good. He has 5 damage total already. But this is the last combat, so we can take a couple hits. Not a whole lot, but a couple. So what is he going to do? What can we do? He's blinded. Let's assume that he is so focused that he stays in the same direction that the tree is. And so he is going to stumble his way forward. Okay? The thing is, he is blind, and we are going to have to do something about him getting the blood sap. And I think that is going to take an agility roll at Bane. Our agility is at 11. Let's see what are we gonna get. Oh, I sure hope it's good. A 4 and a 17. That is not enough. I think that he manages to get to the tree, and he's fumbling around and trying to find the vial that Engulfer gave him for the red sap, and it's just taking a little bit too long, and the harpies are coming for him. So what are the harpies going to do? Another 4. Another eye gouge. Okay, 2d6 I guess, but we're already blinded, so I don't really understand. Well, I guess we can just say that he's gonna have some pretty cool scars now. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. That is 1 damage, because our armor is at 4, so that 5 becomes a 1, which is awesome! It's about time we started rolling low on something that we need to roll low on. Rorik's last action, he is going to attempt to go ahead and get the vial out and get the sap. I guess we would say that he's already got the vial out and he's trying to get the sap. And it's just a very slow process. He's trying to look for a place where the sap is. So another agility roll with Bane. That is a 14 and a 2. I'm actually thinking of going ahead to re-roll this one. We're going to take a condition, and the condition I think that would be very appropriate is Scared. He is very scared. He's blind. He's being attacked by harpies. And, well, that I would definitely be scared. So we're going to go ahead and re-roll with another Bane. 5 and a 16, so that is going to be, or sorry, a 6 and a 16, so that is going to be a no-go. And so we're going to shuffle our initiative cards back, and we get to draw again. And I would say that we have some sap, that he's managing to get some, but it's not nearly enough. Like, I would say he's probably getting like a quarter of it every time. And so he's not going to be able to, you know, get the sap all in one go. Or at this point, because of this failed rolls. He's just getting a little bit at a time. All right, so Rorik is drawing first. He has another 8, okay, and a 5. Ooh, that's not good. The Harpies have 1 and 3. I don't know about this one, guys. Rorik is in some pretty deep trouble. The Harpies are going first. They are, well, let's see what they're going to do. Not a 4, please. That is a 6. Excrement attack. The Harpies open their chloricae and mouths and release a rain of vomit and excrement on the player character. Everyone within 10 meters must choose a condition. The attack can be parried with a shield, though. So we do get to make a parry attack for this one. And so we're going to use swords because that's our highest roll. So 13 or under to, I guess, successfully parry with our shield. That's an 8, so we do successfully go ahead. He hears the sound of like, and then like the rush of vomit and bile coming up, and he just kind of, I don't know, without even looking, because he's blind, he just like holds up his shield and the vomit just splatters over his shield and doesn't get onto him. So yeah, we save him from another nasty thing that happened. So no damage on this one. And we also do not get a condition, which is very important here. He's scared and he's angry. Scared and angry, yep. He's both of those things at once. And, well, the Harpies do get to go again, which is really unfortunate. So let's see what they get. And 5, mass attack. The Harpies split up and attack a number of characters within 10 meters equal to the number of individual Harpies. Each attack inflicts D8 slashing damage. So this is basically 2D8 worth of damage on Rorik here. So let's see what he's going to get here. So we got 2D8, but we're just going to roll our single D8 twice since I only have one of the green ones. So the first one is a 5 reduced down to 1. Ooh, actually, since this is considered 2 different attacks, would our armor protect us from both attacks? So yeah, this is considered 2 separate attacks. So that means our armor is going to reduce it by 4 for each attack. That's how I'm interpreting the rules, because it's supposed to be separate attacks. So the 5 is reduced down to 1 and the 6 is reduced down to 2. So 3 damage total there. Which, ooh, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. He is almost there. He's at 9. And so he does get to go twice now. So he is once again going to roll to see if he can collect any more of this sap quickly. So we have agility with a disadvantage because of being blind, and 13 and a 9. We're gonna be taking disheartened because he's beginning to see his own demise here if he doesn't get this sap quickly. So 11 or under. I know it's a lot to ask for, but can we do it? It's a 9 and a 3, and there we go. He manages to successfully find a spot with all this red sap, and he just gets it into the vial. He hopes he has enough because he's blind. The very last thing he's going to do is pull out the calling stone, and he's going to say the magic words, and poof, there he goes. So Rorik is there. He's on his knees, the same position that he was in when he was trying to get the sap from the tree. And his eyes are just all bloodied and whatnot. And he's huffing and puffing, and he's about to collapse on the floor because he is almost down. He's at 9 out of 12. And so he just kind of sits there with the vial just held up in his hands, and Engulfer comes over and takes it from his still quivering hand. He's angry, he is scared, he's disheartened. That's half of the conditions right there. But he has managed to successfully complete his quest. And that is the most important thing. Now there's one other thing that we do need to take care of. Since we used the Calling Stone, we do need to roll a d6. And if we roll a 1, then we can only use it one more time. So let's see. That is a 4. So we get to keep the Calling Stone for now. Alright, now comes my favorite part of the entire session. We get to attempt to level up some skills. So we did manage to roll a demon on acrobatics and swimming. So we already have 2 skills that are ready to rank up. But we also get to choose 5 skills, and the 5 that I have chosen are swords, of course. We gotta roll up our melee skills. Swimming, because it seems like we're swimming all the time in this game now. Sneaking, because that is actually really important, and he actually did sneak in the maze, so that was actually incredible. So we're going to try to rank that one up. Persuasion, because I think talking to people would be helpful for him, because he's been talking, well, I don't know, would he be talking to Engulfer? I mean, Engulfer is just kind of like, here, give me that thing and go off somewhere else. So I don't know, we'll give it a try. And Bushcraft, because Bushcraft also seems to be coming up quite a bit now. And so those are the 5, or rather 7, that we're going to attempt to rank up. So starting with acrobatics, we need a 7 or over in order to rank it up. So that is an 8. So, hey, we actually leveled that one up. Next is going to be Bushcraft. We need a 6 or over to rank that one up. And we rolled a 10, so that gets leveled up to 7. You see, now we're going to get all the rolls that we need to make on because it's the end of the session, and well, because we've already wasted all the bad rolls and playing the game. So next is Persuasion. We need a 7 or over. And that is a 6. So that is not going to level up, unfortunately. So no, Engulfer does not talk to Rorik. So that is why he did not rank that up. Sneaking is next, and we need an 8 or over in order to rank this one up. That is a 16, so we do rank that one up to level 9, or to rank 9. Spot Hidden is at 12, so we need 12 or over. 7, so unfortunately we do not rank up our Spot Hidden roll, and that's unfortunate, but it is still high. It's our highest intelligence roll, and it's our second highest, or actually it's tied for the second highest skill overall for Rorik. Swimming is next. We need 10 or over. And we get a 16, so that one goes up to 11. And of course, the biggest one, the one that we really want to rank up, are swords. Can we do it? We need a 13 or over. Of course, we would get a dragon on this one. Actually, hold on. Because we got a dragon, does this mean that we can choose another skill to level up? I'm just saying. No, I'm not going to do that. Although, we should probably make up a homebrew for that. That if you get a demon on a skill, you actually get worse at it. And if you actually get well, actually, no, that would be stupid. Don't do that. If you get a dragon on it, you like level it up, I guess, twice or something. I don't know. That's a last minute thing. We're not going to do that. We are definitely not going to roll with that. That's just going to be a no dog. So, we do not level up swords, and that's unfortunate. But hey, swords is still high up there. It's at 13. So we've been making, well, actually, I remember there was an episode where we were not making a lot of attacks. And so we'll get there. We will get there. I am determined to make swords our first skill to get all the way up to 18 so we can get another heroic ability. That is Rorik's journey to the Soul Tree. He's barely made it back again, but make it back he did. And something in the back of his mind is still there. The memory of his sister. Why was she taken? Well, he knows the reason why. But why did it have to be her? And so those are answers we will get to another day.
Great. Looks like we'll have to set up a Patreon to pay for Rorik's medical bills. I think he should just wear a couple of glass eyeballs. They come in all sorts of colours. Check back every other Thursday for a new episode of Table for One, a solo role-playing podcast. If you would like to support this podcast, please rate it or give it a thumbs up wherever you happen to be listening from. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, subscribe and be sure to leave a comment. Music was provided by Tabletop Audio and AI voice work by 11 Labs. I say we skip the bills altogether and just draw some googly eyes on a couple of sticky notes and tape them to his forehead.